Hey guys, welcome back to our Liberty House. My name is Beth and this is the April garden tour. I have so much to talk to you guys about this month, so I'm just gonna get right into it. So I feel like so much has changed since last month's garden tour. First things first, you can see we put down all this hardscape rock, and oh my gosh, it is seriously such a game changer in our garden space. Prior to this like pea gravel, we had just DG down, which had started to get kind of annoying because it would get a little muddy. All of that dust would kind of blow, and literally such a good investment. It was a couple $100, if that, and it just makes such a big change. Also, since I have talked to you guys last in a garden tour, the biggest change is this is really going to be the first episode of the summer or spring and summer garden tours. Last month would be the end of the fall winter gardening because all of our fall and winter plants are now out of the garden, and everything you'll see I'll talk about here in a second. All of our spring summer plants have been planted in the ground. So if you've been following us with our seed starting videos, all of those are in the ground, and I'm going to kind of show you today how all of those are doing, as well as kind of some residual plants that are going to grow over the next few months that are still in. Okay, so first place I want to start is actually in these two pots because they are looking so good right now. But this, I just wanted to point out, I have a Salvia growing that's like totally showing off right now. This is just like a trailing sedum. I actually planted both of these last year in this same pot. They kind of went dormant over the winter and weren't doing much, but are totally thriving right now. And then up here, this is just like a annual, the alyssum, which is looking pretty good too. And then over on this side, this is Eonium, which has been one of my favorite succulents to grow. Succulents are relatively new for me, coming from South Dakota to Sacramento. Well, in South Dakota, these things just don't live unless you're growing them inside. But here in Sacramento, they grow super well and really prolifically. So I actually propagated this one and have it in a few different places throughout the yard. And then in the raised bed itself, I'll show you what's kind of coming to life. I have Echinacea here, another perennial that I planted last year, and it's still growing well. That's what this one is too. We had a leak pulling out a weed. We actually hit the tap of our water irrigation there, so we had to fix that. So don't mind that there. But you'll see we planted in this bed some of our couple hot peppers. So we have jalapeno. We have 4 jalapeno plants that have taken the transplant really well. It's been about a week since we transplanted those, and so far so good. They're looking pretty well. And then right behind them, you can see we have 2 tomato plants. These tomato plants, I forget already, these are our beefsteaks that we grew or planted here to grow up this trellis. And then to its left, we have kind of hiding in with these onions, we have our Tomatillo plants, which are also looking really, really good. I'm gonna kind of snake around to this side because you'll see they're trying to flower already, which I'm actually just gonna kind of pull that flower off, just because I want it to keep growing up and kind of focus its energy on climbing this trellis prior to setting any fruit. It's kind of one tactic you can utilize to kind of help your seedlings, you know, grow into their space prior to setting fruit. You'll see you're familiar with this thyme that's been here for quite a bit. Still doing really well, especially since I cut it back a bit. So our onions, you can see that they have started to produce their onion scapes. So that's the flowering part of the onion. And what you want to do if you're seeing these in your garden too, is make sure you clip that off, which is what I'm going to do right here. It's a little tricky tricky one-handed, but basically you want to make sure to take off that flowering piece to make sure all of that energy from the onion is going back into the bulb rather than the flower. And if you haven't eaten these yet, you're totally missing out. We like to dice them up and stick them in a little oil and kind of let it infuse into like an onion oil and then use that to saute with. And it is literally so good. Also in this bed has a lot going on, but also in this bed, I have Rudbeckia that's coming back to life, another perennial flower that has been here since last year, but exciting to see that it's coming back so I don't have to plant it again. And then here are those leeks I've had in the ground for quite some time too. Also looking really, really good. I've been, I don't know if you can tell, but I've been mounding this every few weeks. Actually, when we topped this bed in compost prior to planting everything out, I especially did it then, because basically by mounding your leeks, you want to eat the white part of that leek, and to get a bigger white bit, that white bit comes from being underground. So really good tactic to kind of mound your leeks. You can do that with your onions and garlic too, and that's just going to help them bulb and get a bigger bulb. Okay, before moving on to the next raised bed, I thought I'd show you just how some of these little seedling transplants I put in this garden box are doing. I mostly have like flowers in here. I planted a little nasturtium, some calendula, here's stalk back here, more calendula. So kind of just letting that be a little flower box for some pollinators this summer. And moving on over, we have more leeks over here. These are ones I started from seeds, whereas the ones you just saw from the other ones that are a little bit bigger, those I started from little starts I got at the nursery. So these are a little bit behind in terms of size. But yeah, just excited. First time growing leeks for us. We have one really big leek over there. It's kind of a rogue one. I don't even know how it got over there. Probably a rogue seed, but yeah. And then you'll see some more pepper plants over here. These are, there's two in here that we picked up at the nursery to try just two interesting hot peppers for some hot sauce. So we have a Serrano pepper and then a Scotch bonnet. And then right back here are two Thai chili peppers that we planted from seed and transplanted out. Also looking pretty good since the transplant. We left a little bit of room in this bed for just future summer plants, but we did choose to start some more beets from seed here. I haven't seen the chiogas germinate yet, but these are gold beets, and I am starting to see signs of life come through. We've just been very meaningful in keeping this really watered, like daily, kind of checking on it, because we don't want those little baby seedlings to dry out. There's another Echinacea if you're wondering. And all along the arch trellis, we have tomatoes. So in case you haven't seen the last seed starting video, or part of that playlist, I will fill you guys in on what we planted here. So we have 3 San Marzanos, so 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side, I'm gonna try not to make you dizzy, everything is mirrored. So we have 3 San Marzanos here as well. So that's kind of the first bit. And then we have a zebra on the other side, which is like a delicious little green tomato, one of our favorites. Black krim is new to us this year. I'm really excited to try this tomato out. It's kind of more of that heirloom style. And then, sorry, my hesitation. I'm just seeing this like big spider web that looks like a widow web. Ugh, spiders. Anyway, I don't see any spiders, but then we planted our cherry tomato. We have 2 cherries there and there, which tend to be our most prolific and tallest growing of the tomato varieties. And then back in this bed, kind of just some more flowers. So these violas are left over from the winter. They're still doing really well. This heat hasn't killed them off yet. And then I planted some more stock and some more nasturtium back there. So yeah, kind of to reiterate or go kind of talk some more about our tomato plan. Last year, our tomatoes were planted all along that back trellis, if you guys remember. So our strategy with tomatoes, rather than doing like a tomato cage, is we actually trellis them vertically, like what you're seeing here. And Lucas has a ton of video content from last year on tomatoes and kind of his strategies on trellising, because these are going to get really, really tall and hopefully kind of connect there at the top. I don't know if they'll completely curve, but they're definitely, I mean, they were outgrowing that trellis back there with kind of our method on pruning tomatoes. And you'll get a really good harvest. So if you're kind of trying some new things or want to see some new upgrade your tomato cage, we really like the trellising method. So go check out the tomato playlist that I'll link in the description below. And of course, I'll stop quick at these two garden boxes too. So this is a mum I planted in a pot that's doing really, really good. Here you can see our cilantro has gone to flower. So, I mean, ideally we're gonna get some coriander out of this, but so far it's just really pretty to look at. And then in this bed behind it, outside of the tomatoes, so I started a couple dahlia plants here, which are looking pretty good. I think something's kind of been munching on them a bit, so I'm just going to keep an eye out. I haven't seen any caterpillars or slugs or anything, but we'll just kind of wait and see. And then we have some dill, some just herbs I planted here. And then we also started from seed some lettuces in this bed. So we have kind of romaine down here, butter crunch up there. There might be some signs of life coming up from that. And then the arugula for sure has germinated. You can see has started to grow there. So if you are at this stage, especially in this weather where it's very, you have hot days and then cold days, it's just really important not to let those dry out. We got some rain this morning here in Zach, but I'm gonna make sure to come out this evening. It looks like there's maybe some life, and just make sure that the topsoil stays very moist for them. I'm not watering any of the transplants because those are on our regular irrigation time, but those seedlings, when you're direct sowing, it's just really important not to. You're always wondering why things aren't germinating. That's probably why your topsoil is drying out too much. And basically they'll germinate, but then die because they're not getting any moisture. And then lastly, just kind of some herbs in this bed. We have some chamomile here and just some more mature dill. This is a little older of a plant, one I planted back in the fall compared to the new plants I have over there. Okay, so moving on to our fourth raised bed. This one here has our garlic and onions. These are kind of the main onions and then the main garlic we have. These are just some flowers I have. Not the best spot for them, but I'm just letting them do its thing. But yeah, you can see here, just kind of an update on how our garlic is looking. These are the elephant garlic varieties. So they, not all of them are huge, but some of them get pretty beefy. And then here in the middle is the onions. So kind of those skinnier stems are the onions back there. These ones I had snipped off those onion scapes already. Kind of see the aftermath there. I missed one, so I'll come back and grab that. And then to update you guys, because I think last video I talked to you a little bit about transplanting those chives when I separated those plants and replanted them. Those are doing really, really well. You can see how it's actually trying to flower too, which is funny. But yeah, my separation worked and those are looking pretty good. And then I'll show you Lisa, our lemon tree, who honestly has probably seen better days. We've kind of struggled a bit getting the watering correct for her. Our neighbor, not to blame them, has their pool pump on the back side of this fence that often leaks. So I think she's been getting overwatered. So we've adjusted what we've been watering, and it's helped a bit. She's thrown out a ton of flowers as I just dropped a whole bunch because I touched it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's obviously, we're gonna try to not let her fruit too much. As the fruit starts to set, we'll probably cut quite a bit off, but hopefully she will make a decent recovery. And I'm sorry if it's kind of windy. Hopefully the sound isn't too bad. It's never windy in Sac, but today of course it's windy. And then we'll kind of just keep walking here towards the back of our yard. We have some more plants here. So these are just some extra onions I had when I started a whole bunch. These I've been mostly using the tops for cooking. And then some flowers. I have yarrow here. I transplanted some French lavender that I started from seed. We have some tulips that I planted in here that surprisingly are doing okay, even though we've had some crazy heat. This bed we haven't really done anything yet with for the summer, but it still has a ton of these pretty violas from the winter. And then this next box is home to our potatoes. So we planted some red potatoes in here. So far these plants are looking pretty healthy. And this is another bed we really haven't done much with. I threw some tulips in here because I had some extra. This looks like a rogue Jerusalem artichoke and some rogue potatoes, but yeah, we haven't really planted anything yet in there. And then, scarily enough, these are our Jerusalem artichokes. And if you grow Jerusalem artichokes, you'll know why I'm laughing at this, because we did not thin this out very well from last year. So it's just really, really thick and bushy. And Luke's and I were like, uh-oh, when we realized they were sprouting prior to us harvesting them. So it's kind of one of those, if you leave them, it's a tuber, so if you leave them in the ground, it will re-sprout kind of like a ginger or a turmeric, and you eat that rhizome. But yeah, we did not do that. Oh, there's a little ladybug in there. Let's see if I can show her to you. But yeah, just really, really thick. We're gonna have a ton of Jerusalem artichokes in our hand at the end of this next year. And keeping going, we have our 2 blueberry plants, which you've seen, which are looking pretty good. Fruit is starting to set on these babies, so it'll be exciting to see. There's a little spider on that, little garden spider. So we should hopefully get blueberries in the next few weeks, probably by the end of the month. And then now we have just our big U-shaped bed here in the back. So you guys watched as I planted this spinach. Look how good it's looking. I've never really been super successful with spinach, but it's loving the spot. It gets pretty good sun exposure. So it's just really happy. I need to probably come harvest some so it can keep growing. And spinach, when you harvest spinach, it grows from the center. So when you harvest, you want to kind of cut from the outside of each plant to ensure that, you know, it keeps growing. You'll see we had garlic over here last year. So you'll kind of see just some rogue garlic plants that we've just left alone sitting in here. But then you can also see how our carrots are doing. So another plant you saw me, seed you saw me sow back in February, looking pretty good. We thinned them out, so each plant, you know, is about a carrot size apart. But yeah, exciting to hopefully get some carrots. The radishes you saw me sow as well, we've harvested those. We ate them already. They were delicious. I planted some flowers back here in that corner, as well as some flowers I started from seed over here too. I really like to just incorporate flowers in with the vegetables. Over here you can see the fava beans are doing pretty good. The wind is beating them up a little bit today, but they have a whole bunch of flowers on them. Some flowers here. I'm pretty sure this is larkspur, but it's a volunteer, but I'm pretty sure it's larkspur I planted previously. Had some marigolds I planted back there. Just some extra from like a 6-pack I bought. And then not much going on over here except the borage, which you guys, if you remember from the last garden tour, was really just like taking over this whole bed. We thinned it out quite a bit. I left a little bit for the bees, but just kind of, it was getting a little unruly. And then I have a flower here, this Nigella Delft Blue. I didn't think was gonna make it, but it was totally like shaded out from the borage. So I'm just kind of letting it do its thing and see what happens. It's kind of leaning up over here too. It has some flower buds on there, so hopefully it will go to flower. And then over here I have some catnip. I just kind of started to grow. I need to keep an eye on this to make sure it doesn't root outside of this, but we tried the catnip on the cats for the first time and it's very effective. It's quite funny. And our compost bins, I think this side is getting close to ready. We just need to kind of mix up that top area, but I think it should be finished here soon, which is great. And then let's walk over through the yard. Hi, Libby. Hi. What are you doing? She thinks it's bumper time. So you can see this rosemary plant we have here is growing wild. Our roses are doing really, really good. They have really exploded recently and are starting to toss some blooms out. You can see there's a couple kind of sad looking blooms. This is just a sign, I think, of the aphids that we were dealing with a bit in the last kind of month or so. Thankfully, the ladybug reinforcements came out just in time, and I haven't seen a whole lot of aphid activity as of late, but yeah, definitely some damage to some of that new growth that happens from those aphids. So I should come out and just snip off some of those damaged flowers, because that's just gonna signal to the plant to kind of keep throwing out some new blooms. And then our climbing rose is really showing off these days. You can see it's just about to explode, but the flowers are looking really, really pretty so far. We fertilized her a couple months ago now. I could probably fertilize her again. But yeah, looking really healthy, which is great. Another variety over here, kind of more of a lighter pink flower. There's one up there. I don't know if I can throw my phone up there for you to see. But yeah, just looking really pretty. And some exciting news, at least new to the garden, are 2 brand new artichoke plants we just planted out. I'm super excited about this. I think they're going to do really well in this spot because it gets like morning sun and afternoon shade. You can see like the little white stuff on there is actually some of this right here. We threw it on because it seems like literally as soon as we planted this in here, something was ready to eat it, which it looks like it's either some sort of caterpillar, maybe a slug, and this kind of powdery stuff will kill it. Because when we've been checking on these guys, I haven't seen anything. So I think this garden dust, or like it's a diatomaceous earth type product, is going to hopefully help with that to keep these guys alive long enough to get some artichokes and let them kind of grow some roots and get settled in. Here's the other one that's got hit even harder with those worms or caterpillars. So hopefully this stuff works and keeps them alive. And then here's that last rose, another sweet mademoiselle. It's looking really good. And then lemon balm. I need to go through and harvest this baby because she is looking thick, or at least give her a good haircut before she just kind of keeps taking over. And then the nasturtium is completely blowing up right now too. Nice that it hides our sprinkler system, but a little bit getting in the way of like our hose bib over here. And then last bed we have over here. So this is where we planted all of our sweet peppers. By sweet, I just mean no heat. So we have planted our habanadas. So these all we started from seed. We have 3 of those. These 3 back here are Hungarian wax peppers, one of my personal favorites. We have shishito right here. Another shishito. I think we have 4 shishitos. That's a shishito, and this is one too. We also started a few things from seed. So in this area I have some marigolds that are looking like they're coming to life. I did some calendula from seed back here. I haven't seen any of those pop up. And then I did start from seed kind of a row of sunflowers. I haven't seen any of those emerge either, at least not yet. We have a couple random onions over here. And then a couple more peppers. We have the mini bells right here. We never seem to really have good success with like big bell peppers, so we thought we'd try mini bells this year. And then right up here we did plant some more beets, red beets over here. I haven't seen any of those come up yet, but still early. And then carrots. These carrots are a little bit older, probably ready to get harvested here soon. So we'll probably do that when we go to make room in this bed for some more things. And then our wall of our passion fruit vine needs a little trimming. Okay, and the last thing I just want to show you guys are our 2 trees, well 3 trees back here. We have Alfonso the avocado, who is looking nice and bushy. He, I think, had a little watering issue too, but I think we've now corrected it. So hopefully fix kind of that yellowing leaf. And then our fig tree back here, still pretty young, but still in a pot. We need to plant him out. Looks like he's trying to throw a fig there. But yeah, just a little young tree. And then our last tree I want to show you is Leonardo, our lime tree. He's looking nice and bushy and growing pretty tall. Yeah, he seems to be doing all right. Starting to see some signs of fruiting. But yeah, that's pretty much it for what's new in the garden since last month anyways. Lots going on with planting out our new seed starts, which has been so exciting. Kind of just keeping an eye on everything. I think we'll plan to kind of plant out the rest of our squashes, the rest of our summer vegetables like zucchini and butternut. We have some cantaloupes started, probably by the next garden tour for May. So stay tuned. Just gonna start that new playlist, like I said, for the spring and summer garden, and just kind of keep adding to that. So thanks for hanging out with me during my April garden tour. If you have any questions or comments, please just drop them in the comment box below. I'd love to start a conversation with you. As always, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more, and stay tuned as we have a lot more gardening content to show you in the future. Just a little sneak peek at what we have to come. So butternut squash here on the right. We have basil I need to thin out. Lots of zinnias. I love those giant zinnias. They're some of my favorite to grow. And then we have some Swiss chard, center cut squash, zucchini there in the back, yellow crookneck squash. This is the Armenian cucumbers we're trying this year. Cantaloupe over here. Never been good at growing cantaloupe, but we're gonna try again. So yeah, maybe in another couple weeks these will get planted.